everyone, and welcome to Lines on the Page. We are on episode 29. It's amazing that we have reached that far into this many episodes, but we're going to be drawing Naruto Uzumaki, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, from, obviously, a show of his namesake, Naruto, or is it Naruto? Now I'm thinking about vowels and consonants within Japanese language. I think it's Naruto. Yeah, okay. Anyways, close enough. So we're going to quickly do some quick shopkeeping, housekeeping before we continue on with the rest of it. Haven Comics, located in 1871 Slaughter Road in Madison. And if you happen to like the show and any other show, please remember to like and subscribe. Every like, subscribe, follow, comment, share. All of that helps us out immensely. And of course, if you happen to like anything that I do on social media and you want to follow me, you can just find me through tpriceartworks. And that is definitely that. Hey, hope you're doing well. Naruto. Okay, thank you. I know that when it comes to the Japanese language, there are similarities to Spanish when it comes to the pronunciation of a vowel. So whereas in English it's A-I-O-U, in Japanese it would be A-E-I-O-U. So I think just me being an American, we're just gonna say things incorrectly, like everything you could possibly think of off of Taco Bell menu. So, as far as the character, Naruto, don't really know much about it except for the fact that it basically has to deal with ninjas. I have heard people who are fans of the show basically kind of jokingly say that it's like the Dollar General version of DBZ. I have no idea if there's any truth to that. I do know that I did try watching the first handful of episodes, like maybe 4 or 5 of them. And I think, like One Piece, I just couldn't really continue on with it just because when you're starting a series that's aimed for a specific age range and your character is at that age range, it makes sense. So, to watch this in my 20s or attempting to watch it in my 20s, I just couldn't really get with it. I know that a lot of people have enjoyed the series. Actually, I think the consensus is that a lot of people enjoy Naruto more than Boruto, which is the son of the main character. And I know that the character throughout the series, his costume changes as he gets older, but there's still slight variations of the same costume. Hey Jay, hope you're doing well. And I would say okay for a Sunday. No real complaints about that. But yeah, that was actually something that I was going to talk about as far as I saw a really good question on the comics section of Twitter, which you're probably thinking, oh God, why are you on Twitter? Well, I still got a decent amount of people that I keep in contact with on various different platforms. And some people are easier to get in contact with versus others. And one of the questions that I saw on a post is when you're drawing a character, when you're thinking about doing costumes or I guess the design of your character, how it's supposed to look, how do you deal with coming up with that sort of thing? How do you and I think they were mostly speaking as far as just like original characters. I don't think that they were talking about established characters, but mostly dealing with just character design and How do you deal with going about doing it? And then last but not least, which I thought was a really good question, is your character going to have multiple different costumes? So I was thinking to myself, and that's a really good question, and I really do like it. And I think that's something that could definitely be talked about uh, within the show. And I'm basically going to give you guys the same exact answer that I commented on. And as much as I wish that there was an easier answer to it, it really boils down to a lot of different variables. And the variables being, um, for starters, uh, you know, are we dealing with, a character that's set in the modern day, or is it a character set in a specific time period? If so, pretty sure that the clothing should, you know, the costume of the character, it should represent, set time period. And then even more so, well, even if it's not, modern or uh, a period piece, if it's fantasy or sci-fi, then should it not also, you know, follow suit? But the lines do get a bit blurred with all the different subgenres of fantasy and sci-fi. But I think the main uh, general consensus when it comes to those is that sci-fi uh, tends to be a bit more on the futuristic side, and of course, fantasy tends to be, uh, you know, swords and sorcery and all that fun stuff. Not saying that you can't have magic in a sci-fi setting, but like I said, the lines do get a little bit blurred. Um, by the way, I am using about 3 or 4 different photo references, and some of them are actually action figures. So I'm kind of going off of that just to get an idea what I'm working with. So in the case of you know looking at that and working with that in context, well, those are the main things. And I do realize my mind is working off of practicalities. So, uh, case in point, some of the character design that I'm having to do with a pitch that I had to do um, for my friend Reed. Of course, it's set modern day, and all the characters are just normal suburbanites, basically. So, it makes sense for me to draw the characters as such. And when I was doing those character designs, I actually gave the characters a couple different hairstyles, a couple different outfit possibilities. Reed had a good foundational idea as to how he was wanting uh, certain people to look like, just as a general idea, but still had enough faith in me to come up with the final outcome of what they're going to look like. But it was also super thankful that I gave him a couple different ideas just to work off of, see which one is going to stick, and then that is what we ended up working with. So, you know, thinking about the practicality of a costume for your main character, what does it look like? What kind of setting are they in? Uh, Even more so, uh, when we're thinking about a character design, well, is their costume uh, is there anything that is going off of their culture or ethnicity? If so, you know, do you think it might be a good idea for that to be shown, or are you just kind of, very blasé about it? Um, so, case in point, we could look at Black Panther with his most recent character design, which shows off a bit more. If I remember correctly, I think they were trying to go for a. It's really odd because they took the classic Black Panther costume, but then they added in all of this extra, not really Wakandan, but it's definitely very tribal African sort of thing. But the weird part is that his costume looks more like something that would have came out of the '90s versus the '90s costume uh, that T'Challa ended up actually having during that time period. So it was what kind of an interesting uh, choice that they ended up doing, which apparently the whole synopsis for the new one or the new Black Panther comic was that it was supposed to be more of a street stealth kind of thing, but that weird shoulder guard kind of thing totally took away from the stealth part of it because you have all of this, you know, vibrant white and red and blue and a little bit of yellow in there. And I think those were the colors, but it was just vibrant colors against the black of the Black Panther costume. Didn't really make any sense. The other parts of it did make sense. Um, so the practicality of a costume is, does it fit uh, the character's job description, I should say. I know that there are people out there that are you know diehard briefs over tights kind of thing. uh, it was cool for its time period, but I'm not a giant fan of them. That you know it's not really an anthill that I'm dying on or anything like that. I'm just thinking about the practicality. Because, like I said, it's a very classic and timeless look, but there are some things about it that not a giant fan of. Oh, but yeah, it's there are a lot of questions because there are a lot of variables when it comes to looking at character design. Um, and I think some of that it can be, looked at in the situation of like, female armor. Um, because I know a lot of people like to pick apart and attack the character design of Red Sonja, which, if people had actually read the original, the character design for that, she actually had more of a chainmail shirt, and it wasn't until I think at some point it ended up getting changed to a metal bikini, and that ended up being the iconic character design, even to this day. And there's a couple of people that have done some slight different revisions to it, but for the most part, ends up kind of looking the same. And a lot of people who end up drawing the character will often state that the metal bikini tends to be classic design, and people go for it. Okay, so I know he has the headbands. So I know that he being Naruto has several different costume updates as he gets older, and I think also within like story arcs. This is going to be the orange and black. I was originally thinking about doing the his very first orange jumpsuit, but kind of like this one, so I'm gonna stick with that. So the reference that I'm using here is one of the action figures. I think it's the SH Figure Arts because they have like the multi pose stuff with their action figures, and I really like the pose for this one because it kind of gives me a very dynamic thing. Not really so much the fact of like him just crouching down, looking like he's about to attack, but it could also bring up the possibility of him. Maybe he's trying to catch his footing, so he's sliding back. You know, opens up your brain to a lot of possibilities, and I do like the idea of him trying to catch his footing. So I am going to put some this clouds in the background, but I'll get to that later. And let's see here, this headband. Uh, so I actually had to look up exactly how old the character was, and I think in this part he's about 14. So I'm going to try to give him a little bit of a youthful look. And I think that's something that I've noticed that manga has done really well uh, when it comes to characters and really long storylines, and they're showing the progression of age. So, for instance, you're looking at some of the characters in either the Dragon Ball series or Naruto, or One Piece, or um, even Berserk. Uh, it's just really interesting to see the progression of the theoretical, you know, this is the age of the character at this time period, and then they may have gone through growth spurt. Uh, so it's really interesting to see that they actually do this versus looking at Western comics, you really don't see that at all. Which you've got characters like Batman and Superman, who characters have been around for like 80 something years, and they don't look an age over 40. So which is something that I really enjoyed about Kingdom Come, which is you actually get to see these characters actually have some age. And that is something that I will always be thankful when it comes to the Alex Ross and how he put that together. Um, All right. So I know I have posted this. I can't remember if I posted it in the group page or if I had posted this on the main Facebook page. But I have asked the question in terms of uh, basically subjects that you guys would like for me to talk about or expand upon more. So if there's anything that you would like for me to get into for future videos for this year, please just drop your ideas in the chat. I've already got a couple of ideas. One of them I actually have plans later in the fall. So I am thinking of doing Justice League characters in July. So, but anyways, it doesn't have to be franchise stuff. It could just be techniques, or you want to give me a challenge to do live, whatever the idea is. Please just drop your ideas in chat, and I'll write those quickly off on the side so I can remember what it is, and we'll see what we can do. I know something that I would like to do is the opposite hand challenge. And basically, what it is or sorry, it's called the non-dominant challenge. And basically, what it is that you're having to do art with your non-dominant hand. And it's just really weird because technically I'm ambidextrous. Um, I've always played instruments with my left hand. Guitar technically with both of my hands. So to do but I had never really done any artwork whatsoever with my left hand, primarily. So to try and do a non-dominant challenge, that would be interesting, kind of funny too. I'm not sure how long I could do it before I start getting frustrated, but it's definitely something that I would like to try. All right, and okay. Trying to see exactly his eyebrows are actually that big or that small. His headband's covering most of them, so it looks like they're kind of small. All right. It's, technically, it's more of a grimace. Right. So now he has the metal plate, and of course he has spiky hair. What shonen protagonist does not have spiky hair? And okay. All right, so the badge that he has on his left arm is a variation of the symbol that he's got on his headband. Check the other. Okay. All right, so looking at the top part of this tracksuit jacket thing that he's got going on. You're going to be showing some folds because he's in such a extreme pose, or sorry, more of a dynamic pose, I should say. All right, so we've got the topper over here, which is going to be basically black. And going to be working with where the zipper is going to be within these various folds. So it's going to look a little wonky, but it's basically just part of it. And then I believe the bottom part is. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. So the part is a little bit more solid. This puffs out just a bit. Okay. So because, you know, arms kind of flex out, your typical superhero pose. Thinking about that whole scene in Black Widow. You're a pose. Anyways, so whenever we're thinking about the folds of fabric, in this case, because he's bent forward, but yet the right part of his body is a bit extended out a bit more, whereas the left knee is bending up towards the chest or slightly up and out from the chest. Um, there's going to be more folds on this side of the body. So it's kind of like an accordion if you're thinking about in that aspect. So you're going to have, you know, fabric that's just kind of within this spectrum of things being folded out. But depending on the fabric, you know, each fold is going to be different from the next. But generally, that's kind of the main consensus of it. And I think I'm going to kick this foot back, or entire leg back, I should say, a bit more further. All right, so all right. We're getting to the pants part of this ninja tracksuit thing. And we've got this little pouch holster thing, which I have no idea if he actually keeps stuff in there or if it's just for aesthetics. Um, so if you actually know the answer to that, please let me know in the chat. So, because we're dealing with a character that's at least within this specific age range, you know, somewhere between middle school and high school, uh, you can't expect every character that you're drawing to be, you know, built like a linebacker. It's just 9 times out of 10, it's going to be very impossible unless your character is a linebacker for high school. Then it makes sense. Um, so I guess one of the things to really, I guess, just to keep in mind is that, you know, and this is just speaking from personal experience, uh, generally, as a guy at that age, uh, we were all lanky, skinny kids, unless we were, you know, actively in sports. I think that would be the only leg up in terms of having any sort of like muscle mass. Which, you know, I would assume with a kid who's, you know, part of a ninja clan, knows how to throw a punch as much as one. It would stand a reason to at least have some muscle mass. Uh, but all kids, I don't know. It's really strange, but generally I like to draw. If I'm dealing with you know, anyone who is still, I don't know, from the moment that they can walk till about, 17, 18 years old. I generally, at least with guys, they're not going to be super physically physique. I mean, it's not going to happen. All right, so this is going to be the interesting thing, and that's going to be these open toe boots, sandals things. Seems like a 90 pocket face. Probably so. The older Naruto gets, the less pockets he has. Did not realize that. Okay. I could have sworn that he had like some sort of like giant backpack or something like that he had earlier on in the series. At least, well, I'm not even sure if it's even a backpack. It could be a giant. Uh, it could be a giant sleeping bag for all I know. It just has this really uh, cylinder type look to it that he has strapped to his back. I mean, it could be any number of things, but um, all right. All right, now we're going to basically start cleaning up some of these lines. Uh, so there's a couple of details that I need to establish a bit more before I start putting any sort of color, let alone ink. So the hardest part, I think, is going to be this hair because I do want to keep within the spiky iconicness, but at the same time, I also want to be, I guess, slightly realistic with it. So, let's see. All right. So we know he has these strands that kind of fall on either side of the headband. And he has actually a bit more on the sideburns than I was expecting. I think that works. Okay. Of course, the knot is right there. And is a little bit too strong of hold with a headband. Let's see, is there a zipper? Not really. Okay, that's interesting. All right. For the sake of being practical, I'm going to give them a small zipper. There we go. Right, so the headband, ornament. I'm guessing the symbol on there is the symbol of his, I don't know, family, clan, something of the sort. I'm gonna bring this way. So it's got a bit of a swirl with what looks like a small triangle. And then we've got some more of a metallic swirl thing with this armband. And let's see here. Okay, so it goes in the opposite direction. All right, so he's basically holding a kunai, which is a very specific throwing knife. And I'm going to flip this around the other way. All right. So we got that down. And then the open toe sandals, boots, the things on his feet. It might have been that Forbidden Scroll. Interesting. Forbidden Scrolls. Have you watched any new shows? It's a really good question. As far as anime is concerned, I actually rewatched both seasons of One Punch Man. Still patiently waiting for season three. Uh, I do need to watch the newest season of My Hero, but I haven't done that yet. Because the last I remember, he being Deku, just got the black lightning whip power of some sorts. Because I know it's supposed to go further into it. I just haven't got around to actually watching it. Um, but as far as actual shows, I am just now starting to watch Fubar. I started that last night on a whim, right before I went to sleep last night. So I've already seen about 3 episodes of that. So far, absolutely hilarious. Not for little kids, but it's absolutely hilarious. I think it's a really good action comedy show, and it does kind of in some ways it kind of pokes fun at some of the stuff that Schwarzenegger has done. Uh, which this really isn't spoilers, but the whole premise of Fubar is that Schwarzenegger's character is basically a spy, and he is retiring, and apparently he ends up getting uh, reactivated by the CIA to go and save an operative, and it would be like the last and final mission. And it comes to find out that this operative is his daughter, and so obviously, hijinks ensue. And there's a couple other characters that are in this team that both uh, work with the both of them on the field, and also, in tech support and all that sort of stuff. And so it's interesting to see these different dynamics getting played out. But apparently, in order for him and his daughter to work well, and before he can officially retire, he basically has to train his daughter, I guess, the correct way or whatever. And so, in order for it to work out, they've basically appointed a agency psychiatrist. And so there's a scene where the daughter has a Schwarzenegger Muppet, and Schwarzenegger has a Muppet of his daughter. So they're both doing like reenactment things. And so to hear her do this, like, Arnold, yeah, thing, it's great. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of really good comedic parts in it. Good stunts too. I've definitely enjoyed it just for the kicks and giggles purpose that of what it is. Um, let's see what else. I know for a fact that I need to actually. I've got to restart Jack Ryan because I remember watching season one and I just never got around to finishing the rest of the series. So I would probably need to rewatch season one in order to get me caught up with the rest of the show. But yeah, other than that, that's really been it. I've probably been watching more movies during either while I'm working or during my downtime. more than anything else. And of course, just whatever music just happens to be playing. So that's really all that I've kind of got on the plate. Um, I should. So I know for a fact that I did watch the first episode of Chainsaw Man, um, just to, I guess, get a feel for it, see what the hype was about. Um, it was interesting. Of course, it was only the debut episode when it aired on Hulu. Um, I mean, I would have to watch more of it before I can get a, is this something that I'm going to invest time in or not? I know that there are probably more classic anime stuff that is still on my bucket list of things to watch that I haven't got around to doing. And I think I'm probably more psyched to do and watch those more than anything that's really new. And that's not to downplay or, I guess, disqualify anything that's out there because yeah, there's this one show called Doctor Stone. Uh, the premise of it looks interesting. Um, I know um, the artist for the manga. His name is Boichi. He actually did an action series called Sunken Rock that apparently has to deal with like gangsters and stuff like that. That actually looks really interesting. I saw some of the panels for that and the detail that he does with the rendering would it would make Arthur Adams blush. It's it's nuts. Um, I thought Adams was an absolute madman when it came to cross hatching, but no, I think Boichi has probably got him. And before anyone suggests that I should watch Black Clover, the answer to that is no. Uh, I actually read the first volume of that, and I wish I could have gotten time back. That's no offense to people who like that show, but or the manga, but definitely not my cup of tea. Uh, Apparently, they have released a anime of manga that I had picked up, I think right before the shutdown, called Levius, and it's this steampunk MMA uh, type thing. The artwork for that is beautiful. I don't know if the animation uh, matches I guess the quality of the panels or not. So if it does, great. If it doesn't, I would be very disappointed. Um, right, last but not least, I know he's got these markings on the side of his face. And I think we can start going into doing colors. Yeah. All right. No, not Mega Blocks or Megalobox. I think that's how it's pronounced. Which I have seen that. That is actually a good one. No, Levius is its own thing. It's not in a post-apocalyptic future. It's actually set in a alternate Victorian era. So, like I said, very steampunk. Um, but apparently, the mixed martial arts thing that happens in that um, is its own thing, and apparently Europe is like completely uh, it had been like completely undone because of almost like a preempt of World War I. I guess would be the best way to describe it. It's really hard for me to explain. It's one of those things where you're going to have to read it. So uh, I will say when you get Levius, keep in mind it's Levius, not Levius est. So Levie, no, sorry, Levius. It's about that thick. So it's about at least a good 250, 300 pages worth of reading. But like I said, the artwork is beautiful. The fight scenes in that are just really well done. And let's see here. Moving on to skin tones. And I realize I accidentally left God with pencils on that. All right. So per usual, we're using Copic markers and using silk and powdered pearl. go ahead and so I'm going to be using three different types of yellows for his hair, just to really amp up the definition. So one of the reasons that I've actually started doing uh, colors before I started doing inks is that I used to be very much doing, inks first and then colors after that. But the problem is that whenever you start using something like yellows or any sort of like, I guess, warmer pastel colors, you put or so you do inks first and then you put those colors on top and then it would just smear the inks. It just drove me up the wall after just years and years of that. And I knew there had to have been a better way. And there's a Australian artist by the name of Jeffrey Cruz, who would sometimes, I think he was originally doing the same thing I was doing, and then he flipped the process doing the colors first and then the inks after that. Um, and it totally blew my mind because you could see there was a difference. And part of it was just the inks were popping out and they weren't being completely washed over by the color. Um, and you didn't have this weird, you know, bleed. All right, the orange. It's going to be so much orange. Buying all this orange really makes me want to have some tangerines. Right, so get it into a much darker orange. All right, so I know his eyes are blue, so I'm gonna quickly do that. All right, so this is going to get into the interesting part of all of this, and it's going to be it's not really a tan, but it's not really uh, gray either. It's basically the color for some of the shoes and I think part of the headband too. So I'm looking at a couple different things, and so it's mainly the shoes and I think the headband, but could totally be very wrong about that. But I'm going to do a mix of both. Mhm. Then for the metallics, we're going to be using a cool gray. This was used well. And I think we're going to apply some of this on the handle of the kunai. And then even though this part right here, where the pouch is supposed to be aesthetically white, we are going to put a little bit of a lighter cool gray just to give it a little bit of shading. All right, so now we're going to get into inking. think the most difficult thing with doing these interpretations of popular characters is just trying to retain not really so much the likeness as it is the, I guess, the spirit of the character, I guess. Especially with you know, like for instance, with Naruto. Yeah, hadn't even watched barely much of the first couple of episodes, and so aside from the fact that he's a kid, at the very beginning of him, it's really all that I know. But I don't really know the full personality spectrum of the character. So I think I talked about this during the Sailor Moon episode when it comes to blonde hair and just trying to render it depending on what kind of person you are when it comes to drawing. I do think that less is more. As long as you can get the purpose of it down, that the character does in fact have very light colored hair and uh, it's stated as such, then it should work. I'm just going to mark this just to make sure I do not forget. So, as I stated several times, when it comes to inking, and if I haven't, or you just didn't see it in previous videos, I'm just going to reiterate it. Take your time. Reason being is that it's kind of a measure twice, cut first kind of situation when it comes to inking. especially if it's something that you are new to doing. Then I would rather a person take their time than instead of just haphazardly just blasting away, basically. It's good. Thank you. All right. So normally, whenever I'm putting in an area that's going to be completely black, I would usually, when I guess when it comes to folds of black fabric, generally some bits of either cross hatching or maybe a color that is dark, but could insinuate. So usually like a blue or a green or maybe even a dark red or purple. Uh, those would generally be also gray. Generally, those would be the ideas, but we're going to be going about it almost in a direction that would be typical with, say, Adam Hughes or oh, great, what's the name of that artist? Chris Sprouse, who, if you don't know, he did Wildcats for a couple of issues, but mainly did a comic called Tom Strong. He did that with Alan Moore. Definitely recommend that if you haven't read those. But it's almost just kind of like giving in a very matte black kind of look. But I am going to be putting in a couple of sections that are going to have some cross hatching just to create a little bit of texture. So, for instance, the part right here with the collar, since it has these, raised bumps with the collar, so what I'm going to do is quickly do some really tight cross hatchings. And of course, this would be completely black right here. Generally, the rule of thumb when it comes to inking is to actually work towards you instead of with the line versus doing the line away from you. And that is so that a person can have better control. there are several times where even I break that rule. Um, right, that is the general rule of thumb when it comes to that sort of thing. So these sections are going to be right here and right here. I'm going to be doing some of patching, which is what's known as feathering. Actually, I'm going to have to turn this page just a bit. All right. So I am leaving some sections that are going to be completely white, but it's just to emphasize the fact that, excuse me, there is a fold that's going to be there. Let's see here. Okay. All right. So, like before with the headband, we're going to be doing a little bit of feathering and cross hatching with these spots over here by the boot sandals things, footwear. All right. Let's get this a little bit more in position. And, okay. Go back with the outline. All right. Last but not least, throw in all the black. Now, there's obviously places that going to be going back over with either a color or uh, using a different pen, which I will do that after I put in all these spot blacks. Okay, so as you could possibly tell from that, I accidentally went over that area with black. but it's not the end of the world. So I do have white ink, which I was going to have to be using it anyways, just to create some extra corrections with some lines. So that'll be an area that'll be going over. Right. All right. So as you can obviously tell, went over some of these lines just to beef them up just a bit. And last but not least, using a super fine pen. In this case, a 005. I'm going to be going over parts of this. Well. Tots finally shows up. What's up? Just finished. Oh, wait, the new one, or is it a previous Zelda game? Still need to watch Letterkenny myself. And yes, it's not like we hadn't seen each other in so long. Fill people in on that little inside joke. Tots was actually at the store a couple hours ago. So, all right. Go ahead and use this while I'm thinking about it. Let's see here. So we're going to be using some more cooler gray. We're gonna pull the clouds. Okay, so it is the new one. Awesome. Hell, it made me mad not to put people on time. Oof. All right, last but not least, going to be going over this. right, we are basically finished. And of course, it would not be dynamic anime character without a bunch of flying debris. Of course, like always, so your name. There we have it. Naruto Uzumaki. So, I'm actually kind of glad that we got it done within the 2 hour mark. So, thank you everyone who has been chatting throughout the chats, who came in to watch the video, liked it, shared it, so on and so forth. I am getting notifications on my phone while I've been doing this, so I see them off and on. So, thank you very, very much. And yeah, this is technically the last anime character as far as anime is concerned with the live stream. There are two more that will be posted. Next one's going to be Major Kusanagi from Ghost in the Shell, and the last one is Kaneda from Akira. So that is something I'm definitely been looking forward to as far as this week is concerned. So I'll be happy to get to do those. Not saying that any of the previous ones I have not been looking forward to. I have been, including this one. So, that being said, thank you guys and girls, whoever who happen to be watching. Thanks so much for watching, and we're going to be doing the final housekeeping, which are Haven Comics is located 1871 Slaughter Road, Suite F in Madison, Alabama. And if you happen to like the show and either show or things that we do, please remember to like and subscribe. Every like, comment, subscribe, follow, share, uh, save, even all of that, we see it in our algorithms. So it definitely helps us out, and it also helps beat all of the social media pitfalls that everyone has to go through. And if you're wondering where you can find social media, you can find tpriceartworks on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as several other places in the link tree, including a Patreon, um, which kind of accidentally neglected on posting some things this month just because I have been so swamped with everything going on. But I did upload some stuff regarding storyboarding and process of going through a script and breaking out a couple different panels and stuff like that. So if you're wanting to check behind the scenes stuff that I do in the quiet, in the secrets, that is the one place you can find me. And I will see you guys hopefully next Sunday night at 7 p.m. I will let you guys know. Until then, have a great week and happy Memorial Day.